Emil. It's Emil Guillermo. Emil, Amok to you. And thank goodness for Donald Trump knowing how to keep the world excited about everything. I mean, that's his MO, right? You thought you had a real bone to chew on when he threw Pete Hegseth out at you as the nominee to be the defense secretary, a guy who has no managerial experience. Oh, of course he's a veteran, decorated veteran. Okay, I got it. Thank you for your service, but no managerial experience as the scope of the Defense Department. And his real chief accomplishment, Fox News weekend host, the weekends. So you thought you were going to like run with that, right? Oh, Pete Hegseth, roll eyes. And no. Donald Trump is much too smart. He says, I'm not stopping at Pete Hegseth. Are you kidding me? Here, how about this? How about Attorney General Matt Gaetz today, just within like an hour ago. Matt Gaetz, yeah, the guy who was mentioned, involved, potentially alleged in some kind of sex trafficking scheme, man after Donald Trump's own heart, right? A guy who has ethics scandals that he's dealing with in Congress still to this day. And now Donald Trump says, hey, this is the guy I want to be the Attorney General of the United States. And on Truth Social, it's almost like it's almost like George Orwell, right? We've been talking about George Orwell, 1984, and talking about how that is the future come alive in the Trump administration 1.0, but now this is 2.0, and they've said there are no guardrails here. And so when you read something like what Donald Trump wrote about Matt Gaetz in Truth Social, you want to say, my God, is he telling? Here it is. It's my great honor to announce that Congressman Matt Gaetz of Florida is hereby nominated to be the Attorney General of the United States. Matt is a deeply gifted and tenacious attorney, trained at the William and Mary College of Law, who has distinguished himself in Congress through his focus on achieving desperately needed reform at the Department of Justice. Few issues in America are more important than ending the partisan weaponization of our justice system. Of course, it was really the Republicans and the Trump who have now formalized the weaponization of the government and of law, and they come up with lawfare. So everything that the Republicans say the Democrats are doing now, the Republicans actually started and are doing it themselves even better because it was their idea in the first place. So we have this situation here, which is just, here's Trump saying, few issues in America are more important than ending the partisan weaponization of our justice system. Matt will end weaponized government, protect our borders, dismantle criminal organizations, and restore Americans' badly shattered faith and confidence in the Justice Department. On the House Judiciary Committee, which performs oversight of DOJ, Matt played a key role in defeating the Russia hoax and exposing alarming and systematic government corruption and weaponization. He is a champion for the Constitution and the rule of law. Oh my God. George Orwell is rolling in his grave, because here we have everything that is true is false and false is true. They're the lies of 1984 here in 2024. Look, I would like to be very magnanimous. I am magnanimous. I am a magnanimous soul. And I think that Donald Trump, as is his wont, he's the president elect, he should have the people he wants. But goodness sakes, if you're going to be the chief bad guy, appoint some good people in there with you. Appoint some good people in there who respect the rule of law and respect the Constitution. Not people like Matt Gaetz, who will go right up there, right up to the edge, and maybe over hoping for a mulligan so they can come back in, maybe get pardoned by someone in charge. I mean, that's not the way it should be, right? But that's the way they play it. I'm all for a bipartisan government. I'm all for people on all sides represented and fighting for the people of this country. But when you have Donald Trump, he is flexing. He is flexing his muscles. And he's saying, I was criminally charged. I was a convicted felon. Let me help some others who are in trouble, like Matt Gaetz. He could be Attorney General, head of the Department of Justice, and we can work together. It's astonishing. All I can say is, America, this is what you wanted, right? You wanted this, and all because of the price of eggs. Oh, Emil, I didn't vote for Matt Gaetz. I voted for Donald Trump, and he's going to lower the price of eggs. Yes, but you get it all. You don't just get the lowering of the price of eggs. You get it all. You get all his bad picks. Well, Emil, I know you're saying that, but really honest, let's give Donald Trump a chance. We have to give him a chance, because if we give him a chance, then we're really truly being American. Because if we give Donald Trump a chance and we show the redemption that all good Christians believe in, we believe in redemption, then what a wonderful world. What a wonderful world. Yes. What a wonderful world. Yes. What a wonderful world. And, the Democrats are still in charge, but they can't do a darn thing, because this is the thing. And then, of course, the historic thing today, Joe Biden did what Donald Trump was unable to do. Have the grace and courtesy to allow in the person who defeats him to come in and begin what is known as the peaceful transition. You recall Harris, Biden, Biden for sure, president. He could have been invited into the Trump White House. That simple courtesy. And there was Donald Trump. And, the part of Donald Trump that I like the Donald Trump who sat there by the fireplace in the Oval Office. And he sat there and said, yeah, politics is tough. Politics is tough. Shook Biden's hand. And that had to be like, you see, a Trump handshake is like, give me your damn arm. I'm not just settling for your hand. Give me your darn arm. I mean, it's a full body handshake. And they were sitting there. And it was a humbled Donald Trump. It was, he doesn't even like the White House. He's a germaphobe. If you've ever been to the White House, it's kind of old and, it's an old building. It's an old white building. And you go into certain parts of it, and it's a little disappointing, because it's, it's not like, fancy new glass structure kind of. It's old. That's the thing. The Constitution is old. That's America. 250 plus years. It's old. So you might get a sense of mildew, a sense of, but no, it's the White House. And so, Donald Trump is never really comfortable there. But he had to sit there, and in that pool shot that they had, the camera had Biden and Trump and the fireplace. And I'm thinking, oh, the flames of hell. Who's going to be the one to walk into the flames of hell? I thought that. I thought, wow, this is a crossroads moment, historic, right? Because, like I said, you know, Biden didn't get this treatment from Trump as Trump exited. He got January 6th. He didn't get, this kind of courtesy. And now Trump gets a courtesy, and he was nice for about a minute. And that's the Trump that I can live with. I like that kind of Trump. I think that Trump could be a good Trump. I mean, if he sees himself as the badass and hires subordinate badasses who aren't as bad as he is. But I don't know. I thought when he got some people up there who, I thought Marco Rubio was bad. Now Marco Rubio doesn't look so bad. Now everyone's saying, oh, Marco Rubio. Oh, he's good. He's a good one. I'm glad about it. Now they got Matt Gaetz, and Matt Gaetz is like, oh, man, Matt Gaetz. I mean, people are rolling their eyes. I mean, Hegseth. I mean, Matt Gaetz may be the guy who brings Hegseth over the line because they'll say, look, we'll give you Hegseth, but we got to say no to Matt Gaetz. It might, boil down to that. But it's really tricky here. I mean, I don't know. I mean, people are saying, the reports abroad from the Independent after Matt Gaetz was tapped, people are saying, let's see, here's a statement from Senator Peter Welch, a Vermont Democrat, told the Independent about the announcement released Wednesday afternoon. He said it sounded like a headline in a satire publication. That was in The Onion, right? Welch said. The Onion. Now, The Onion is not that clever. I mean, they're clever, but this is truth. This is truth. Matt Gaetz, Attorney General. Other Democrats condemned the announcement in more serious terms, recalling the scandals around the Florida lawmaker. Fellow Florida Representative Maxwell Frost, who's the first Gen Z congressman, voiced his shock on X. Holy sh! He said it. Trump will nominate Matt Gaetz as Attorney General, Frost wrote. The man who is at the center of a sex trafficking probe. God help us. Montana State Representative Zoe Zephyr, a Democrat and LGBTQ rights activist, also condemned the move. Quote, Matt Gaetz as Attorney General is also unconscionable given he was under investigation for his role in an underage sex trafficking case, she wrote on X. Democrats aren't the only ones reeling from the decision. Republican Representative Mike Simpson told The Hill, are you eshing me? Like pooing in your pants me. When informed of the news. Republican Senator Tom Tillis told reporters on Capitol Hill, quote, I'm sure it'll make for a popcorn eating confirmation. Because that's the thing. You got to pass the confirmation. I mean, what Donald Trump is doing now is this: he's saying, look, I'm going to be president in a couple weeks. You got to get used to this. Every day there's going to be something. Every day there's going to be something. He is like a storm waiting to bust a cloud over all of us. And then close it up and bust it again and close it. And that's the way it's going to be. You remember what it was like in 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20. And it's by time. And then, of course, we had the pandemic, which was the worst thing to happen. Trump also got COVID. And now we know, because of Bob Woodward's book, before there were vaccines available to everybody, Donald Trump was talking to Vladimir Putin about giving him, a test kit. I'm telling you, this is what America wanted. Is this what America wanted? I mean, because from what I've read, America wants lower prices on eggs. America wants lower prices on gas. All right, I drive. I get that. But I'm in California. And if anything like around the $4 level is cheap to me. I paid less than $4 last weekend. I was excited for the first time in a long time. And generally, I'm paying for something. But the price of eggs, I have to confess, I'm not sensitive to because I'm a vegan. And when you're a vegan, the price of eggs, But I'll tell you, I went shopping yesterday. The price of fake cheese in my store up 40%. 40%. It used to be like, $4.99. And now it's up like maybe almost 50% because it was like 7 something. The price of fake cheese. So I could put it on my fake meat, on my fake cheeseburger. And I can get fake diabetes and fake heart disease. Actually, more like real heart disease because the fat is out of this world in those things. But it tastes good. So I can have my fake diet and have all these fake meats, but I'm paying real cash. Real hard cash. Oh my God, I'm paying cash. Inflation, right? Get me that fake diabetes. Unlike, other folks now, I guess the prices are sort of stabilized on eggs and dairy. Maybe you're paying regular now for real cheese and real milk and real eggs, and now you'll get real diabetes and real heart disease. And I hope you have Obamacare because Trump wants to get rid of that. So that's the situation. You voted. America voted. We honor the vote. And we're living with it. And it's not even really, he's not in office yet. And it's like, he's like banging his feet and things are moving and oh my God. And they're going to need Senate confirmation. They got this guy Thune in from South Dakota, and he's not as bad as if Scott, the Florida senator, if he had gotten in. Secret vote, the Senate for the majority leader to replace Mitch McConnell went with John Thune. I would have gone with Cornyn only because John Cornyn was a Texas Supreme Court justice. And that kind of shows that you believe in the rule of law. Thune is just a Republican. One thing about Thune's background, when Trump was in trouble because of that Access Hollywood video, came out in 2016, about grabbing by the, female parts. Thune was at least honest enough as a Republican to say, this is not good. Many people thought, oh, you get a sex scandal like that, you don't get to run for you don't get to run for dog catcher, you don't get to run for president. But what's happened? Trump did it. We're going to get, this is going to be the big, Trump did it. People will go all the way out to the limit and beyond, and people will be questioning them and say, why are you doing that? Trump did it. That's the end. Trump did it. Oh, wait a minute. You're not Trump. And is it going to last 2 years? Because that's when we have another respite. Because today, one of the networks projected that Congress is going to be in Republican hands, which gives them both houses of the Congress, the Senate and the House, and then they have the executive branch. They have clear sailing ahead. One thing I noticed about the House races, though, some Asian Americans are getting in there. misspoke yesterday. I said Whitesides won a seat. Santa Clarita is not the seat of Katie Porter. But Dave Min, Asian American, he has come from behind and won back Katie Porter's seat for the Democrats. So it's looking good for the Democrats on that score, but it's still not enough seats to get a majority. So it's going to be, for Democrats, it's going to be tough. And for Republicans, they'll have, it looks at this point now, the House, the Senate, they'll have the presidency. And all we can do is pray that they all act responsibly, right? I don't mind Republicans. I'm not anti-Republican. I mean, the thing about bipartisanship is you can start far apart and argue and shout, but at some point you come together and you say, yeah, we agree. We agree. Let's go forward. That's the way normal people are. But there are some people, like Trump is an example. If he loses, he never backs down. If he just, it's you never hear the last of it. And it takes a certain amount of maturity, and I guess that's why Trump is Trump. But we're in it now, and you see how it is, and you see how it's not going to get any better. It doesn't get better. Right now, the only guardrail is that the Democrats are still in office for another few weeks. But once they're gone, he can do whatever he wants. And then you're going to see, like today, or like last night, from Hegseth. And then, I've even skipped talking about the Elon Musk appointment. He's going to be with Vivek Ramaswamy, and they're going to run an efficiency department. That's right. It takes two people to run an efficiency department in the government. It's not really an official, well, it doesn't exist, this department, but it's kind of a honorary watchdog, I guess. And I don't know if that's going to be big enough for, to contain Elon Musk's ego. Maybe. I mean, it would be enough for Vivek Ramaswamy, at least with Vivek Ramaswamy. He's not absolutely megalomaniacal, not absolutely crazed. He's a bit conservative, and he's a bit of a show-off, but he's not a billionaire. Musk may realize that, this is why billionaires don't go into politics, because there's not enough money. But, they named the department, the acronym is Doge, like his Dogecoin, however you say it, Dogecoin. And Dogecoin is way up, and just by the announcement, because Elon Musk holds positions in this cryptocurrency, Dogecoin, it's gone way up, and people have profited. This is what you call corruption. And it's happening in plain sight before our very eyes, and is anyone saying anything about it? I mean, it's been reported, Dogecoin gets, with Elon Musk being appointed, rises. Elon Musk's stake in Dogecoin, which is his cryptocurrency that he started, is up. He's already made billions of dollars on all his other government contracts because of the election. And now because of Dogecoin, oh my God. And this is an example from Trump, because Trump did not segregate his positions or put them in escrow while he was in charge. And he just left it as it is. or as it was, and now he benefited then, and he continues to benefit. Now you see these newbies come in, and this is the rise of the oligarchy in America, the rise of, you want to talk about the elites? The elites aren't the guys with Harvard degrees who are Democrats. Those aren't elites. The elites are the billionaires who gave tons of money to Donald Trump and the RNC, and they're not checking themselves ethically, making tons of money. It is really the definition of corruption. And are we doing anything about it? No, because, well, in the Trump years, the Department of Justice will be run by Matt Gaetz, the Attorney General, who has a few legal things that he's running from that he'll take away with snap of the fingers. This is the America you wanted. Not me, but it's the America you wanted, and you got it. You got to think that America's got to be kind of a laughing stock in some places. Oh, the head of the military, the Department of Defense Secretary, he's got no experience. I mean, battle and combat, but no managerial experience. Oh, we only have bureaucrats helping him out. Well, not if they cut back on waste, because they want to cut back on federal employees. Oh, well, those guys will be all, they'll be helping each other. Doubt it. I don't know. It's scary. But if I were China and Russia, I would say, "Ooh, wow, this is great." America is unprepared in transition. America is weak. America doesn't know what to do because they've got indecisive young leaders who are susceptible. Every one of those picks should be seen in terms of Putin, or in terms of, Xi, what they would do, how they would react with those people at the helm. I mean, a lot of these people aren't even on anyone's short list for these positions because they are so out of the norm, and we're going to be so abnormal, the United States. You might say, "Oh, well, we need to think out of the box." Yeah, you could think yourself out of the box so much that you're out of country, so that you lose your country, so your country's freedom is at stake. But the enemy finds out how ill prepared your leaders are. What does that mean? It means that Donald Trump must have an answer. Donald Trump he's got to have an answer, because I voted for him. I voted for him, so he has to have an answer, because already the price of eggs has gone down, and that's good enough for me. Of course, they didn't give me a dozen. They gave me 11 eggs. They gave me 11 eggs, and I said, "Oh, if Donald says a dozen is 11 now, the Trump dozen, 11 eggs. That's what it is. So much cheaper, so much cheaper. Thank goodness. Thank you, Donald. Thank you, Donald." Yeah, but to be totally optimistic, I really think that, if you saw Donald Trump in the Oval Office, if he's in touch with that Donald Trump, you might question, what Donald Trump are we going to see? That Donald Trump, the one in the Oval Office, who sat on his hands and just looked around and was just impressed. And then he looked at the babbling press asking questions, and he saw himself as so superior. you know, but he was humbled. He still came across as kind of, yeah, just me and you, Biden. Just me and you. And there's the flame. Who's going to walk into the fire first? Go ahead, Joe. You go first. I mean, it was, I thought of the fires of hell there, I thought, when I saw that picture. But if Donald Trump is that way, we might be able to hang for 2 years and then go out there and vote like crazy. I mean, get your friends, mobilize people. We can't have one party rule because we're about to see why that's true in about, well, by mid-January. We'll see. One party rule. All right, I want to read this one article that, it's in the Wall Street Journal. You might not get it. It may be behind a paywall. But I follow this guy. He's the how would you call him? He's sort of liberal, but he's more moderate. And William Galston taught at Maryland. And since I've been doing talk radio back then, even when I was in Washington, D.C., he was a voice of reason, a voice of, a moderating voice to bring things together. Like I said, not ultra liberal, not really conservative, but kind of in the middle. And there was a move that maybe this was the purpley way to go at some point. I forget what they call it. Not libertarian. It's not libertarian, but it was a kind of common sense, because you'll see people use the term common sense. Got to have common sense. Get your hand in my pocket. Talk about common sense. All right, so here's William Galston in the Journal. And like I said, he kind of says it in a way that really brings it home about what's going on and where we need to go. He says, as Donald Trump continues to build a multi-ethnic working class Republican Party, and that is the thing. It's a diverse multi-ethnic working class Republican Party. The importance of race and ethnicity to voters' choices is declining. The key division in this emerging coalition is education. See, this is what I've been saying. I'm sensitive to this because I'm in the ethnic press. But that first sentence, the importance of race and ethnicity to voters' choices, is declining. Someone said, was it important that you're Filipino? Was it important that you're Asian American this time around? No, because we're in coalition. We're such small. We're in small numbers. We have to align to be a force. But maybe I was feeling this time around that maybe race and ethnicity is irrelevant. Almost as irrelevant as Kamala Harris wants to make it irrelevant, and she did. She mentioned it and pulled it back. It wasn't seen as a point to drive home. More article. The key division in this emerging education and coalition is education. Voters without college degrees tilt far more Republican than those with them. Unfortunately for Democrats, voters without a bachelor's degree outnumber those with one in the electorate by 57% to 43%. And that's an important fact, because if you get those people, 57 to 43, you win. If you get 100% of those people, you win. You got to appeal to those without bachelor's degrees. Essentially, the uneducated. That's a nasty way to put it. But look, I mean, I'm fortunate to have gone to a 4-year college, but if I had gone to a 2-year college, I probably would have dropped out after a couple of years. and not gone back? Would I be considered uneducated? I'm semi-educated. But, there's a lot of people who they don't bother to go because they've never been encouraged and because they don't see the value in the kind of traditional education. That's a problem because they're the largest group here. Those voters without a bachelor's degree outnumber those with one in the electorate by 57% to 43%. According to AP Votecast, a survey of the American electorate, Mr. Trump doubled his share of the black vote from 8% in 2020 to 16% this year, mainly because 24% of the black men supported him. He increased his share of the Latino vote from 35% in 2020 to 42% this year. And according to CNN exit polls and Pew Research's validated voter analysis, he improved his showing from Asian voters from 28% to 39% this year. I know I've been saying that. I've been saying that Donald Trump would have 40%. He did. 40%. That's more than a third. It goes from a third to 40%. From 28 to 39%. Kamala Harris, meanwhile, got only 54% of the Asian vote, far short of Joe Biden's 72% 4 years ago. By contrast, Ms. Harris came close to equaling Mr. Biden's 43% showing among white voters, which is funny because it means Ms. Harris didn't. I mean, she got almost the same amount as Biden's white voters, but didn't. Mr. Trump did better in 2000, largely because he boosted his performance among every non-white group large enough to measure. And that is a problem. President-elect Trump also did well among 18 to 29-year-olds. Okay, so some of this we've heard before, the young people. After the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, Democrats performed well in the 2022 midterms, and they followed up with successful pro-abortion ballot measures in blue and red states. Many Democratic operatives concluded that the issue would be equally powerful this year. The Harris campaign focused on abortion to mobilize women. And that may have been the big mistake because you know what happened with the women's vote. Those who had counseled this strategy must be shocked and disappointed. Ms. Harris has expanded the share of women in the electorate by only 1 percentage point. And her share of the women's vote at 53% fell short of the 55% that Joe Biden won in 2020. According to AP Votecast, she received only 57% support among suburban voters, or suburban women, down from Biden's 50%. She underperformed Biden among women, and that was the shocking thing. We thought about the women and the gender gap to put us through. The widening political gap between white voters with and without college degrees is long established. I'm reading from William Galston's Wall Street Journal article. And Galston, as I said, is seen as a somewhat conservative liberal, not as conservative as most Wall Street Journal writers, which is why, and this is pretty factual, what he's saying here. He says, in 2020, 57% of white women with a college degree voted for Mr. Biden, while only 33% of white voters without a college degree did so. A similar trend appeared among Hispanics, with 69% of college-educated Hispanics voting for Biden, but only 55% of those without college degrees voting for him. So there's a gap between white voters with and without college degrees. And you see it reflected throughout the other demographics. Among white voters, education trumps sex as an indicator of which way a person will vote. This year, as in 2020, white women without college degrees voted more in line with white men without degrees than they did with white college educated women. So, let's see. Okay, so they get into these stats, and these preliminary findings from the 2024 election challenge two pillars of democratic orthodoxy, and this is the point. It's time to discard the term people of color, which assumes uniformity of outlook and behavior among non-white groups. There's no POC. There's no BIPOC. And it was a nice shorthand and it was a nice fantasy, but it's not working. There's good reason to believe that Hispanics and Asian Americans will continue to move along the classic immigrant path of upward mobility and cultural adjustment while retaining their distinctive customs. So Asians and Hispanics are going to move to the right, and they're going to stay Asian and Hispanic, and they're going to lose their democratic, their democratic lean. These groups have experienced difficulties along the way, but most no longer think of themselves as oppressed minorities as blacks and Native Americans are more likely to do. And that's kind of it, right? I mean, am I an oppressed minority? I live in a suburb. I went to college. See, here's the thing. We're still oppressed minorities. How do you sell that when you say, oh, you're so successful? Oh, well, look at the representation. That's all I have to point to. Are you seeing enough Latinos and enough Asians in key positions? Are you seeing the reflection? Yes, no, but it's not like 80-90% are voting Democratic now. It's more like 60-50%. And that's why the Democrats are losing. Relatedly, it's time for Democrats to bury the hope that demographic change will work to their advantage. And this is something that I've been sensitive to for a long time. I've always, ever since 1989, when we knew that the demographic shift was coming, watch out. Here it is. Latinos, Asians, blacks, we're all going to be in coalition with each other. The demographic change is not going to work to our advantage. That's what this election shows us. Young people in some minority groups are trending away from the left. The party's remaining demographic base, largely composed of blacks and college-educated white voters, I mean, that's who they are, isn't big enough to sustain a national majority, nor is the current geographic base, which relies on cities and suburbs to counterbalance Republicans' huge margins in rural and small-town America. Democrats were once the party of the factory floor. They've become the party of the faculty club. This shift has separated the National Party from much of the country's mainstream and makes it hard for even battle-tested Democrats such as John Tester and Sherrod Brown to survive. And we saw both of them lose. Sherrod Brown in Ohio, John Tester in Montana. It's time for Democrats to undertake again the hard task of reflection and reform that led them from 3 devastating defeats in the 1980s to wins in 4 of the next 6 presidential elections. And that is, you look at that. What was it? I remember, now I sound like an old guy. I remember when Bill Clinton was inaugurated. I went to the Clinton inaugural. I was out there. Saw Maya Angelou deliver her speech. The thing about the Clinton inaugural I was also at the Obama inaugural, but at the Clinton inaugural, it's always cold in January, but there was an excitement. Oh, for the first time, the Democrats are in charge. Everyone wanted to get the plum book. The plum book was the color of the book that had all the jobs, and people were excited, and they went and they said, can I do this job? I mean, if you're not in government, where do you fit in, right? And you got to think like a government worker, and you got to talk the language of the the GS 19, 17, 15, 16, 10, that crowd. And I have to admit, I was in Washington at the time. I thought, oh yeah, what's in the plum book? Nothing for me. Do I want to be a do I want to be a community? What is it? I mean, it wasn't for me. That's what I found out. But the mad rush of people to get those jobs. It was kind of exciting to be there in Washington, to cover it, as a reporter. And then now look at where we are. Everything is shifted to Mar-a-Lago, and it's like a beauty pageant down there. It's been described as where they're looking at potential picks that Trump will make, and every pick from Trump is like a grenade, lobbing a grenade. Here comes Gates, Matt Gates, dude. He's not even gone to RFK Jr. yet, but when that hits, oh my God, RFK Jr. Who's his nominee for health, human service? And but that was an important time because Democrats won. Clinton, Obama, Biden. Exciting times. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what the Democratic Party is going to do to try to lure back working class people, because the education thing is the real issue. In fact, they ought to give more affirmative action scholarships to blacks, Latinos, and Asians, and that will guarantee that they will become elitist Republicans. I mean, that was sort of the hope, but then they became elitist Democrats. So they should do that, make them more elitist Democrats, sort of like people without a party. And then the Republicans can run away with it because they are appealing to the blue collar crowd. And that's why people will say suddenly everything is flipped. The Republicans are now Democrats and the Democrats are now Republicans. And people don't understand. It's a flippy political world. Anyway, so Galson has it right. He went over VoteCast and he saw the numbers. The numbers are what they are. And the hope, and this is where it gets me, because I've been following the demographic change in America since 1989. And I always saw that as that was our future. That was when we would get, I mean, we thought we'd all be in charge and it would be, I didn't think about ideology. I just thought, oh, we're working together. And, it doesn't work. Race and party doesn't work anymore. I don't know what that will mean. Everything about race has changed because of the election last week. And we are we're in a new race world, trying to understand it. Trying to understand it. And it's not easy when every few seconds, here Matt Gaetz, AG, Pete Hegseth, DOD, RFK, not yet, not yet, not yet. I don't know, but that's what makes it fun and interesting, right? We're Americans, and we pray for our country. Pray for our country. So I do this this talk, but I also mentioned that I am the official poet laureate of my small little town in San Joaquin County, and yeah, like 18,000 people, 17, 18,000 people. I don't know how many read poetry or love poetry, but they're aware of Mother Goose. They're aware of all the favorite pop songs they have. I'm sure there's some people who know a Shakespearean sonnet from a an order at a fast food restaurant. I know they know instinctively about A B A B C D C D E F E F G G. You know, iambic pentameter, the sonnet form. But maybe they're more into free verse free, just like those monkeys. They were born free. No, I mean, poetry is one of those things where I realize that if you impose the limits of the architecture of poetry on your speech, people would love you more, I think. Right? I don't do these 3-hour shows anymore. But, it's true. I would have written you a shorter letter if I had more time. You've heard that phrase. And it's just funny when you write poetry, there's something about just capturing that moment. Because the moment that's the point of the story. And so if you can capture a moment in a poem instead of a story, there's something beautiful about the kind of the ambiguity. It's ambiguous plus it's concrete at the same time. Does that make sense? Or you can have something that is so focused and concentrated and beautiful. There's just something about poetry. Capturing of a moment and then presenting it. And then feeling the intensity of that moment through language. So anyway, I wrote a poem about Veterans Day, and I read it yesterday at the city council meeting, and that was my first act as poet laureate. And hopefully many more about just viewing life through poetry and preserving life through poetry. I'm excited for it. Excited to be in the position. Of course, it's not necessarily political. I mean, politics is another thing. But what are you seeing? How do you see? And how can you communicate what you see and what you feel through language to a reader about the town, about the present day, about life in this area? And this is one thing where we all can agree, on the patriotism, love of country. You don't have to be a Democrat or a Republican. We all believe in our veterans. We all believe in our country. We all believe in protecting the freedoms that they go out there and fight to make sure that we have this country. So I think it's fascinating to sort of have this place, a poetic place, to talk about things. And those of you who've watched me before, you know I do these one-man shows, and I often call them poetic journalism. As Spalding Gray called it. And I don't know. I'm just excited by it. It's a nice thing. San Joaquin County found some money to fund a poet laureate for different cities and within the county, and it's just nice to be part of that group. And yeah, and if you want to see poems, I'll put the poems up on my Patreon site. Go to patreon.com/Emil Amok. You can go to the regular, YouTube, just to see this and other things if you become a member of the Patreon community. Patreon, patreon.com/Emil Amok. Yeah, check it out. All right, one last word. I'm going to talk about the Marsh in San Francisco, March 18th. Another version of Emil Amok, Monologue 69. Check it out, 1062 Valencia Street, San Francisco. And yeah, and for tickets, go to themarsh.org/Monday-night-marsh-stream. That's themarsh.org/Monday-night-marsh-stream. And you get your tickets. And it's a kind of thing where the Marsh, all proceeds go to the Marsh. They're giving me stage time and a place to play and do my thing. And you get to see live theater. It's fun. I do 20 minutes. There's like 3 performers. I do my 20 minutes. Go see the other performers that night. Go to the website. You'll see all those who are there. And I think it's going to be fun. March 18th. Emil Amok at the Marsh. All right, that's it. Too much fun for one day. If you go to the Patreon site, I do laughter yoga. I'll try to make you feel good. It works. It works for me. I feel when I do laughter yoga, intentional laughter, I feel good. Right now, I just wind down and think about one another, think about the love that we can send out to one another, no matter what political party. And so, as I wish for me, this is called the metta, or the loving kindness meditation. As I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Till next time. Mahal Kita.